Hello, everybody. This is a first podcast that is run by Fiona and myself. I'm Sarka, and we are the property power duo. Hi, Fiona.
Hi, Shaka.
How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm really good, thank you. Are you okay?
Yes, I'm fine, thank you. We've got quite a lot to talk about, don't we? We had election recently, and we had King's speech last week. So I just don't know where to start.
There's a lot going on, isn't there, at the moment? It's ever changing. I think maybe chatting about the King's speech might be a good idea, a good place to start.
I think so because there have been some very interesting announcements made, and a lot of it it's touching private rental sector.
Mm-hmm.
So where do we start?
Well, I mean, obviously, this is what you're dealing with every single day, the lettings market. So I suppose what I would really like to know is what do you think about the abolishment of Section 21 and the Renters' Right Bill? I mean, people may not even know what that is. So I think it might be useful for tenants and landlords to explain that.
Yeah, so the bill is pretty much kind of like a changed or updated version of renters reform bill that everybody has been preparing for last few years, and there are very similar parts of it. The main thing is the abolishment of Section 21, which is known as no fault eviction notice, or is being called like that. And I would like to caveat it because in my career I have not personally met a landlord who would want to give notice or evict tenant for no reason. There usually was a very reasonable reason for it, whether it was landlord needing the property back or there was obviously a breach of any contract or any contractual obligations from the side of tenant. Generally, the landlords, when they needed the property back, they would give Section 21. So that's what the new government wants to abolish pretty much immediately. I am sure that there will be an alternative way how the landlord can get the property back, because I couldn't imagine that if the landlord, for example, needed to move back to the property or decided to sell it or wanted to use it for a family member, I cannot imagine that they wouldn't be able to do that. So I would urge landlords not to panic right now. Keep following news or keep watching our podcast of our property power duo, and we should know more very soon. In terms of other I would think the items that have been quite of interest to the landlords, such as increasing rents that should be allowed in line with the property market rents. And there is also a provision that the landlords have to allow pets in the property. There are also other things as a part of the entire bill, which again I think that we can start covering as things unfold over next few months.
Mm-hmm. Do you think it is making landlords nervous then, the changes, or are you feeling that in the market?
Yeah, I would think the professional landlords who are used to those changes, they are not as nervous as perhaps landlords with one or two properties who may have this property just as an inheritance pension. And those landlords keep coming to us and are asking the questions. And like any change, some people get nervous about changes because it's always unsettling not to know what is coming. But again, I would urge the landlords not to get unnecessarily nervous about these things. Just speak to us, because any change will stabilize over the time. That's what I learned.
Yeah, it's like all investments, I suppose, isn't it? It's something you have to factor in. There's going to be good times and not so good times. I suppose coupled with the Bank of England base rate increases last year that landlords have had to deal with, it probably has made them feel a little bit unsettled, but hopefully they will trust the market and hope that things do sort of settle down for them now.
Yes, and in terms of obviously the interest rates, we know what a big shakeup it was to the market, wasn't it? I think we both experienced it, us on the sales side, you on the mortgage side, didn't you?
Yes.
And have you noticed that the market has started settling somehow? And from the mortgage perspective, when did you start seeing the settlement? How many months after the increase?
Yeah, so last year was relentless, rate rise after rate rise. It wasn't a nice time to be in this industry, I don't think, because you end up having to give clients bad news a lot of the time, and it's not why I do my role. It's not what you want to do, but it's part of what we do. But then I would say, coming back after Christmas, beginning of 2024, a lot of the lenders were starting to reduce their rates, and that made me feel a lot more settled. And since then, we have found lenders will always increase and decrease their rates. That's just normal, dependent on lots of factors and how much business they want. But I'm finding that it's a lot more stable now. And obviously there is the hope that Bank of England base rate will start to fall, which hopefully will kickstart people back into feeling more confident, and maybe even feel like now's the time for us to move. Maybe now's the time for us to make that jump that we've been waiting for a couple of years. There's definitely a lot more stability now, for sure.
Which is interesting, what you're saying, because we've seen it on the sales side. In fact, we had an incredible February in terms of agreed sales, which kind of feeds to what you said about January, and we've been seeing a bit fluctuation with the sales, but we have, for example, really strong last couple of months. A little bit dwindled before election because people were waiting for the results, and they were all waiting for the rent reductions, for the interest rates reductions. But again, in last couple of weeks, we had several sales agreed, and I would think that that's very positive. And what is positive about it, to see that if the property is priced correctly, it sells.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's important. I think, like you mentioned, the election there, I think people have been waiting for, something fantastic to happen post-election. But unfortunately, I do feel that even though we are going to see more positive rates, hopefully, over the next couple of years, I certainly don't think we're going to be back to where we were, with 1% interest rates from the lenders. I don't think that's going to be happening anytime soon. So I do feel that if people do think we really need to move house, this house doesn't work for us anymore, or we're first time buyers living with parents and we want to now own our own home, I think waiting, they might be disappointed actually if they wait too long, because they might be waiting for something more amazing to happen than what actually will. So I think it's important to think, if you do really want to move, maybe, you know, have a chat with professionals and see if it is feasible to move now instead of waiting any longer. I think that's an important thing for people to consider at the moment.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you, because the waiting, there is never right time with waiting. You have to focus on what you want in life, and what you are prepared to put towards it. So if somebody wants a new home, you know, it's not point waiting. If somebody is buying as a first-time buyer, the amount of money that they are spending on rent, we know that rents are really expensive. They would be better off perhaps putting it towards the mortgage on the property. And I've as I have said, you know, those who want to sell properties do sell, and they do sell well, at least in our areas, providing that they are priced correctly. We are not going to get anytime soon to overinflated prices following lockdown. However, the prices are steady. They keep slowly. They obviously drop a little bit. There was self-adjustment, wasn't it? But they keep steady. They keep growing slowly. We had, for example, one interesting fact that people might be interested in, that in the last 7 days in the area that we covered as an estate agent, there were 54 reductions on the properties, which is not a huge amount because that's big area. And the 1,100 properties have been marketed for more than 12 weeks. And I know that, and I know that from the experience, that if the property is overpriced, it will sit on the market. So it's better to price it at the level that will attract people rather than having it sat on the market, you know. And I would always suggest to people to get a valuation, obviously, if they are thinking about selling. And then, you know, they get to understand what is the reasonable value, because it's important to get reasonable value. And then obviously speak to yourself about the mortgage if they need mortgage, because then it will give them good understanding where they can go from there.
At the end of the day, the lender, if people are wanting mortgages, the lender will send an independent valuer out to value the property anyhow. So it's better to be realistic, and it saves disappointment by being realistic right from the outset. Because if the property's downvalued, it's, you know, it just means for the seller, they might have lost their sale, the buyer might not be able to proceed, and it just caused a lot of disappointment. So I think listening to the guidance that people are being given from the outset, I think is very sensible advice.
Yeah. That's why I never overvalue properties. I always say to the client, look, this is realistic price. If we want to put it on the market for more, it's your prerogative. But you know, work on the realistic figures. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Is there anything else we wanted to cover?
Well, I think this is going to be an ongoing power duo podcast now, isn't it? So I think there's lots more to cover, but we can do that, you know, in the upcoming podcast. What do you think?
I think so. Let's do this. There will be more news to come. There is always a regular update on the local property market. And if people enjoyed listening to this podcast or watching this podcast, then we'll do it again next month, shall we?
Perfect. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you, Fiona. Bye.
Thank you, Sarka. Bye-bye.